Hello, as you can see, I'm not in my usual spot back there recording a video. Today, I will be building a computer from scratch, well, as much as scratch as possible. My old computer is an Asus machine that I bought many years ago. It was pre-built, came ready out of the box, which is nice, but I got inspired by some of my friends and a bunch of other YouTube videos I've seen with people building these, piece by piece. So I'm excited. It might take a while. I will probably make a lot of mistakes along the way, but I will try to cut as much of that out so you don't get too bored watching this process. But in any case, I will now get started. So before we actually begin doing the whole build, I figured it might be worthwhile to kind of walk through each of the pieces I have. So first off, got our motherboard. It is an MSI Mag X570 Tomahawk. Got that paired with a Ryzen 5600X. There will be a little hookup on that, but we'll get into that in a sec. Next up, so we've got a cooler for the Ryzen chip. This is a Cooler Master Hyper 212 RGB. Here is our graphics card. It is an NVIDIA 3070 Founders Edition. Got an EVGA power supply, 750 watts. Got a crucial 1 terabyte SSD for the OS and other more work-intensive applications. Here's our RAM. It's 2 Corsair cards, 8 gigs. Here's a secondary storage solution, which is a 2 terabyte Seagate Barracuda hard drive. This is for other files and videos and whatever else I make. And this, well, you won't find in most other builds. I'm sure many YouTube streamers and Twitch streamers have it. It's an HD60 Pro capture card that I plan on using for my Switch so I can record some gameplay. And then the case is right here. This is a Cooler Master Masterbox TD500 mesh, and I believe that is everything. So now I'm gonna clear off this little workspace here, and we will get going with the first part of the build. Okay, here we go. Opening the motherboard. Alright, so slide this guy out. Use this motherboard box as our little prop-up station. Cool. Alright, so here it is. Nice. These are all ports. This is where the chip will go. Here is where our RAM will go. Graphics card will go here. I'm assuming that the Elgato capture card will go to one of these slots. I'll probably have to watch a video or look that up. SSD underneath this little panel. I mentioned that we have a little bit of a hiccup with the motherboard, and that is that the Ryzen 5600 CPU just got released, and chances are that this motherboard does not have the latest BIOS installed on it when it got shipped from the manufacturer. And so we need to update the BIOS on this before the computer can actually boot. So what I need to do is basically use the Flashback feature found on these MSI Mag motherboards, wherein I grab the flash drive, or I put the latest BIOS on flash drive, plug it in here, and then use this flashback button, this flash BIOS button right here, to force an update. But in order to do that, we need to actually give this guy some power. So the next step is for me to unpackage the power supply, connect a few of the pins so that we can power the motherboard, and then we're going to attempt this BIOS update. So I'm going to grab the power supply, and we are going to figure out which pins I'm supposed to connect. Okay, here we go. Oh, it is this way. All right. So here is a nice little manual that I might have to read through, and bunch of cables, so many cables, and even more cables. Here is the outlet cable. These screws, I assume, are to mount the power supply to the case. This is some candy. And alright, so I'm gonna remove this guy from the box, and here it is, the power supply. We know we need the motherboard one, and I need the CPU cable. I need to remove this guy from the phone. Great. Okay, there it is. This is probably the way we want to do it. I've connected the motherboard and the CPU cables to the power supply. Next up is actually giving power to the power supply. So I'm going to take this cable, plug it in, and we will see what we can do. So now it's plugged in. Not that button. So this button is the eco button. I thought that was the power button. It's actually in the back here. That makes more sense. Oh, it started. Okay, so we have life. I plugged in the USB drive with the flash, and now press the flashback button, and I see flashing LEDs, which is good. So now I'm just waiting for the update to be done, and then once that's done, we can move on to the more traditional steps of a PC build. This process should take maybe 5 minutes to complete, so just let it go until then. Okay, so after about 5 minutes, it looks like the update is done. As you can see, neither the USB nor the motherboard's port area is flashing. I'm just gonna let this be for a few more minutes, and then I'm gonna turn off the power supply, disconnect cables, and then we can get back to the rest of the show. Next up, now that we are done with power supply shenanigans for a little bit, is getting the chip into our motherboard. Also, just so you know, it takes a lot of effort to get the 24-pin connector for the motherboard out of here. So just hold the clamp down and gently wiggle it as you apply a moderate amount of force. Here is our Ryzen chip in all its glory, and then this is I think it's called a Wraith cooler, right? We are not going to be using this guy because I have my aftermarket cooler, so I'm going to put this back in the box. We need to now put this chip into the motherboard. There's the motherboard and the chip. Here it is opened up. Now, I'm aware that we are supposed to do this is through a clamp thing, so I need to lift up this clamp, and then I'm gonna have to take the chip gently, not messing with any of the pins, because these are very sensitive. And the chip has a golden triangle right here that I'm supposed to line up with the triangle on the motherboard. So it should go in like this. Yep, the golden triangle lines up, and with zero pushing, I just gently line it up, and it should fall into place, which so far it has not, but let's see. Oh, there we go. And now I just install it, and that's it. Chip is there, nice and firm. So, grab our Corsair RAM. Are these cards? I think they're cards. So here they are. And so they go, I know they go into, there's an A and B channel. and you're supposed to do alternating, so that's what we will do. These little pins get opened. Since this has the logo side, I'm going to try to see if I can insert the slot this way first, because that would be more aesthetically pleasing to me. Yep. Okay. There's one. And this is the second one. Alright. And click. Sweet. Okay. RAM is installed. Easy enough. Next up, I'm going to do the SSD. And here's our crucial solid-state drive. There it is, tiny little guy. There we go. This guy was a lot more resistant, but we got it. Okay, so let me take this off. The SSD goes in here, in this little pin area. And I believe what I'm supposed to do is line it up, like so. Yep. And then it comes down like this. These little small screws came with the motherboard, so I'm gonna just assume that I need to use one of these guys to get the SSD tightened down. And yeah, fairly straightforward. Here we go. Next up is me putting this back. And for that, we first need to remove this little paper piece, and now this guy goes back on top of the SSD, like so. Okay. Cool, done. All right, on to the next step. So I looked up a video on how to install the cooler that I showed at the beginning, and it seems like I will need to remove the brackets that are pre-installed on the MSI motherboard. So that is the first part that we will take care of. All right. First bracket off. Great. Now we remove this. I assume that as soon as I try to lift off the motherboard, those 4 screws are going to come off, so I will tackle that later. Here's the 212 RGB Black Edition, and this is our cooler. There's a bunch of stuff in here we're gonna need to mess with. Okay, I know we will need this. This is the back plate that will go on the back of the motherboard. Here is the fan. We've got thermal paste, a bunch of smaller brackets. The plate has a little label for AMD, and so that is going to be our guide. These pieces each, yep, just like that. The next part is using these little clips and fitting them on top. Sweet. Okay, so this is our backplate. Anyway, Mr. Motherboard, come with me. Right, so this is what we no longer need. This guy, I'm going to replace it with this guy. And what I will do is just nicely line it up with the screws. All right, there we go. So I just line these up. Awesome. I removed the fan from the chassis, and what we need to do next is get one of these brackets and basically install them right here. This will be what will go against our little bolts on the motherboard. Okay, that is tightened up nicely. Very good. The next step will be actually mounting this on the motherboard. However, I did look into some solutions. I might actually first mount the motherboard and then finish with the cooler, just because I think it's easier. But I'm gonna sort that out first. It might have gotten to the point where we need to now grab the case. Beautiful. Here's our case. And other side. Well, we will now set this guy on the table. We'll go from there. It is. Adjust the angle a little bit, so I'm going to try to take those screws off first. Okay. And then do adjust. Okay. All right, there we go. The next step is to get the other back plate off. So switch it over. Now we're going to get these screws out. Yeah, sweet. Next step is screwing in the screws into each of these little sockets. Motherboard is mounted nicely, and it is now time to put in the CPU cooler. It's gonna go on like this, and so first remove the little film, and here's the next part I was nervous about. That's the thermal paste. Basically, it should just be small X, or just a little dot like that. Basically. I need to be very careful as I screw in these mounting nails. Here's the finished product with the fan installed, cables connected. Next up is installing a graphics card. Here it is. Okay, that's one. Graphics card goes in just like that. All right, graphics card installed. I think it's time that we bring the power supply back into the mix. I don't know what they all do yet. It's the most terrifying part of this entire process. We know we need this guy, so that's good. Okay, because we can just plug this guy in the other end. For the GPU, we need a SATA cable. SATA 1. Now we have every cable that we need. Power supply. It's gonna slide in here. Okay, it's just a matter of folding them. That's fine. And I just need to put in a bracket screw into each of these 4 holes, and then our power supply will be mounted. Sweet. Our power supply is installed. So next up is kind of plugging in some of these cables. All right. I heard a click. Next step is the CPU. I'm interested in this guy, which I'm gonna bring in through this hole here and get that plugged in. All right, CPU cable connected. Next up is our graphics cable. Here's an adapter, and I need to connect the EVGA cable to the adapter, and then the adapter goes like this. And that's it. Okay, so I've got the CPU cable connected. I've got the 24-pin power connected. I've got the GPU connected. So I think it's time for us to connect some more cables. Easiest one that I can identify so far that we can plug in right off the bat is the USB 3.0 cable, which is this one. And this guy, I think, goes here. Okay. There's our USB 3.0. Alright, so I didn't find any clear instructions, but I believe the audio cable, this HD audio, is supposed to link to the JAUD 1 slot. So come on through, buddy. And there is a pin that is missing. So that is what I need to, that's how I need to line it up. Okay, it is connected. Next up, we got these pins. This is the power switch, LED, all the other fun stuff. Power LED goes on the top 2 pins, which is gonna be plus and minus, with the plus going to the top. So they need to be lined up like so. And then the HDD, LED, and then the reset switch go on the bottom. So I'm supposed to do it like this. There we go. So there it is. Those are the front panel switches, reset button, and the LED lights. So yeah, that is also good to go. Next up are the fan controllers, or the fan cables. So I think there are two sets. There's this one here, which I believe is just the fan's power connector. And then this one is for the lights, the RGB lights. I found the system fan cable, which goes right there. And then the fan's RGB controller, I think, is this one right here. So that is now also plugged in. So I think the next step is getting the hard drive into our case. And here it is. This is the 2 terabyte hard drive. I'm gonna figure out how we're gonna mount this. So I know that it's gonna go one of these slots right here. Probably this guy would be my preference. There's a little push button. Take that out. And now I can kind of just use the pins on this Barracuda. And yeah, it's done. I don't even think I have to screw anything. This will just slide back in. I need a data cable, a SATA data cable for the motherboard. And then this other pin will get the power supplies cable, I think. Yeah. Wonderful. And now I need to lead this through the other side, but before I do, let's connect our power cable. This will be on the very bottom. All right, well, it is connected. I need this SATA data cable now to kind of go again underneath, and actually I need it to go up this way, I think. Yeah, I need it to go up this way. And I need this guy to connect to SATA 1. It should be this guy. The bottom. I could just use one of these and just use that, yeah. Perfect. Connected. So here's the thing. This computer is pretty much hooked up. Now obviously, cables look really ugly on the backside, but we've got the PSU connected. We've got all the main links connected. We should be able to power it up using the buttons. Now that we've got this part connected, we should have working USB ports. The fans should also boot and turn on. So I think it's time that we plug this in and see if we actually get anything happening. In order to do that, I need a monitor. So I'm gonna grab that and yeah, we will test this bad boy out. I've got a keyboard connected, I've got a mouse connected, I've got a monitor connected. The computer is plugged in, although I need to do one thing, which is to actually turn on the power supply. So we just did that. So, moment of truth. Does it boot? Is the question. I'm gonna press the power button now, see what happens. Well, that is positive. Helps if I turn on the monitor. Need to change input. No signal. Let's wait a little bit. Okay, there we go. All right, let's press F1. Okay, let's check the memory. Got the two 8 gigs right there. So we got our 16 gigs of RAM, CPU, storage, I'm just saying, so I've got the 2 terabyte one. I'm not seeing the SSD though, so that is interesting. Okay, well, I'm gonna mess around with this a little bit, and then we can resume once I find some stuff. Okay, so here's an interesting update. So I mentioned last time I had an issue finding the SSD in the BIOS, and so what I had to do is I took out the SSD slot completely, or SSD card completely, and then re-screwed in the whole thing. I also disconnected the hard drive for now, and after that, as you can see, I now have the M2 slot showing for the SSD. I wish I could still have the hard drive showing, but I might just try to install Windows and do all that fun stuff now while I've got the SSD, and then we'll try connecting the hard drive afterward. So yeah, we'll go from there. All right, next step now is put in a USB drive into the computer, reset boot, put in my product key, and it is now installing Windows 10 on the SSD. So I will check back with you once it is done. Okay, well, we're back. As you can see, the machine is powered down. I also unplugged the power cable because we still have a little bit of work to do. But in any case, we've got Windows installed, got all the drivers installed, so that's great. The last 2 big things are getting the capture card installed and figuring out what happened with the hard drive. So I'm gonna one more time attempt to connect the SATA data cable. So we've got that. And I am gonna also install the capture card, and then we're gonna do some cabling, and then that should be it. Here's the capture card from the Elgato box. Gonna get that, and so I'm imagining this guy is going to live probably right there. If I can plug it in. Yeah, so I need the bottom rail removed. Perfect. All right, the capture card is installed. Now we play with cables for a little bit. This wonderful chaos that we've got here. So I'm thinking I can probably zip tie the CPU cable through here, at least. So these 2. And then I can probably create one channel of cables coming down here, nicely tucked in, probably. And then leading the rest kind of down underneath here. So let's go like this. All right. This part doesn't really look the best, does it? And it mainly has to do with that SATA connector, but this part I'm okay on. Actually, the rest are okay. I'm just tucking them in here. this part, I do want to Velcro. Here's a question. Can we close this? Let's try it out. All right. Well, this is probably the final little clip, but got the cables more or less figured out, panels installed, machine booted fine, and I believe might have to do a setup, but I think I've got, yeah, I still need to set up the second drive, but I did see it in BIOS, so that is a promising sign. Again, the Elgato capture card is now installed. The hard drive is going through that data cable, and yeah, so I think this will be good to go. So if I want to make an update video on how things are going, we'll do that. But otherwise, thanks for watching, and I hope to deliver some nice gameplay from this PC in the future. So thanks, bye.